Part 2. Aghasura. Killing of the demon Aghasura. Imagine calling your son Agha. It's like in Ramayana, one of the relatives of Ravana is Kara. Imagine calling your son Kara or Agha. But that's his name. We made a little bit of an introduction. We got as far as 3 verses into the chapter, and now we're going to be, the next 7 verses gets our attention, verses 4 through 11. Once again, we'll responsively chant this nice verse. This from Rupa Goswami's Stavamala, a collection of prayers to Krishna. And I think everybody was here for the morning session, so this is the same. She'll sing twice, and a little pause at the end of each line.
दुष्करं शृण्वतो मे
भजनमतुलं दुष्करं शृण्वतो मे
नैर्यासेन ज्वलति हृदयं भक्तिलेशालसस्य नैर्यासेन ज्वलति हृदयं भक्तिलेशालसस्य विश्वद्रीचीम् अगहर तवाकर्ण्यकारुण्यवीचीम् विश्वद्रीचीम् अगहर तवाकर्ण्यकारुण्यवीचीम् आशाबिन्दुक्षितमिदम् उपेत्यन्तरे हन्तचैत्यम् आशाबिन्दुक्षितमिदम् उपेत्यन्तरे हन्तचैत्यम्.
So first humility, then mercy. I am very weak and lazy to do even the smallest devotional service. And so when I hear of the peerless and difficult to perform services performed by the great devotees in ancient times, oh, my heart burns with despair. O Lord, O Killer of Aghasura, when I hear that your waves of mercy splash everyone, from the demigod Brahma down to the most insignificant creature, then my heart becomes sprinkled with a cooling drop of hope. The downpour of, or the waves of mercy, and the waves of mercy splash, and some drops of those splashes of those waves of mercy touch me, and then I feel there's some hope. Despite my fallen nature, the Lord is merciful. So 7 verses, 4 to 10. So the focus, playing with Krishna in the cowherd village of Vrindavan. Although these boys were decorated by their mothers with ornaments of kacha, gunja, pearls, and gold, when they went into the forest, they further decorated themselves with fruits, green leaves, bunches of flowers, peacock feathers, and soft minerals from Gopal Champu. Though the boys were beautiful because of the jewels as they entered the forest, they ornamented their bodies with fruits and buds from trees and used a multitude of glass beads brought in packets from their houses after much pleading. The scene, various scenes of playfulness. Absorbed in playing, they did not consider that one thing was better than another. Only the miser, thinking of expense, sees with a critical eye. The carefree person, not considering expense, becomes joyful with whatever is pleasing. Next verse. All the cowherd boys used to steal one another's lunch bags. When a boy came to understand that his bag had been taken away, the other boys would throw it farther away to a more distant place, and those standing there would throw it still farther. When the proprietor of the bag became disappointed, the other boys would laugh, the proprietor would cry, and then the bag would be returned. Gopal Champu. They stole each other's sticks, flutes, and lunches. Considering it their own, they would throw the item far away. They would then bring the item back and offer it. They all engaged in suitable actions by the quick movements of Krishna's brow at every second and knew nothing else. Here's a painting of Madhu Mangal having his lunch bag stolen. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, "I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first." In this way, they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. Now, most of you will already know the cowherd boys were Vaishyas, but one amongst them was a Brahmana. And that Brahmana boy is pictured here, one with a shaved head, Madhu Mangal. Madhu Mangal was brought to Vrindavan along with his mother Purnamasi. Purnamasi in Vraja Leela is the personification of Yogamaya. And in the writings of the Goswamis, she plays a very important role. I mean, Yogamaya plays a very important role, but she orchestrates everything. And whatever she says, that's it. If there's some question, they go to Purnamasi. Should we do this? Should we do that? And whatever Purnamasi says, they would accept, because she's a very elderly, socially speaking, a very elderly lady and a Brahmani. And so she was like the master of whatever they would do and not do. If she disapproved something, they just would stop. If she wanted something, they would do. So she's a very important, Purnamasi, or Yogamaya personified, was a very important personality, very important figure in Krishna's Vraja Leela. And Madhu Mangal was her son. So he befriended Krishna, and they did many, many, many pastimes together. This is just a depiction of one of those pastimes. So he was with Krishna all the time, and all the cowherd boys were with Krishna all the time, so he's with the cowherd boys. But he, is depicted a distinguished the way that he would dress. He would dress as a young Brahmin boy would dress, and the cowherd boys would dress as young cowherd boys. So their attire was different, and their role was different. Everyone had a particular role to play in Krishna's pastimes. Jiva Goswami comments, Krishna sent all the boys ahead to look for the calves, and then went far off to see the beauty of the forest. They could not see him, but they ran toward him, attracted by his fragrance, and saying, I will catch him first. Having such pride, they felt great bliss. Though the boys were pure, they displayed pride in giving pleasure to Krishna. So this is a scene back in Vrindavan. So attached to Krishna's company were the cowherd boys' little sons, that they acted just like his shadow. So here's the scene we described before. There's Mother Jasoda getting Krishna all dressed up, ready to go out herding the calves, and the boys are there with boxes of jewelry and ornaments to give to Mother Jasoda so she can apply them. Or other cowherd boys dressing Krishna themselves with strings of necklaces and garlands, and they all got in the act. A similar passage from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. If, even for a moment, they couldn't see him, if he sometimes went away on a whim, they were filled with distress, and when he returned, they would rejoice and rush to touch him. So in this painting, they're playing a game. It's blind man's bluff, at least that's what we call it in the West. So they covered Krishna's eyes, one of the boys, and then the boys would run and hide. You see one boy up in a tree, and some would go here and some would go there, and then Krishna's blindfold would be removed, and he was supposed to find them. One of their games. Then a whole series of verses starting from text 7 through 11. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes. Others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated, the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the bird's shadow on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive posture of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. So this painting illustrates some of these. There's one boy sitting in a posture like he's a frog ready to jump, or the peacock that's stretching his tail, or another boy that's like a bird ready to take flight. In this way, they would be absorbed in their village scenery and imitating all the personalities around them. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces, as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs. And when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. The picture is playfulness. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of Brahman effulgence for the Gyanis, desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who, for ordinary persons, is but another ordinary child. So this image is meant to show Krishna is the source of the Brahman effulgence, and their Gyanis would be attracted to the Brahman effulgence, wishing to merge into that Brahman effulgence. But the boys are joined with the person, not the effulgence, or the source of the effulgence, but in a very personal way. Then those that worship in majesty the personality, and the boys are playing with him. In other words, their feature is very unique. A nice B.G. Sharma, again, a painting showing some of the activities that the boys would do together on a daily basis. The cowherd boys, this is this celebrated verse. We're going to spend about 20 minutes on this verse, one verse, Krita Punya Punja verse. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune? So we just expanded the two parts of the verse into two parts. Here's the whole verse. So we're going to look at each of these words. Let's say the verse together if you know the meter. Itam satam brahma sukhana bhrutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shatanam naradarakena sakam vijakta krita punya punja. So, when speaking of this verse, Prabhupada would simply say the phrase krita punya punja, and to him, and to those of us that heard from him regularly, he is remembering the whole verse just by saying those three words, Krita, Punya, Punja. So we'll start with the color coding. In pale blue, the word Satam. Itam Satam, Brahma Sukhanu Bhritya. Satam indicates, according to commentaries, there are three types of people: the Gyanis, Bhaktas, and Karmis. And those that are Satam refers to those who have manifested the state of Sat, of their highest Swarup, or those who have the quality of Sat because of closeness to Brahman. In either case, it refers to Gyanis. This is Jiva Goswami's commentary. So, it's compare and contrast. The cowherd boys, they're most fortunate, more fortunate than the Gyanis, will have Brahman realization, at least to some extent. They're manifested in their state of Sat, or highest Sarup, but they're not yet engaged in service. They're interested in Sat, or Brahman. The inhabitants of Braja played with Krishna, who is the knowledge and happiness of Brahman for the Gyanis. And then a little lesson in, is there a distinction between a Mayavadi and a Brahmavadi? And if so, what's the distinction? Do you know the distinction? You've heard of this before? You've heard the term Mayavadi. We've all heard the term Mayavadi. So here's the distinction. The word Sat cannot apply to those Gyanis who think the body of and form of Krishna is material. And that's the Mayavadi. Mayavadis, they they say, at least notionally, Brahman Satya Jagan Mithya. We've all heard that phrase. Brahman is truth or reality, and Jagat, or the universe, doesn't exist. It's false. It's mithya. So when we speak of anything, it may have form, but understand that form doesn't exist. Because there's only one thing that exists. Brahman. Brahman Satya Jagan Mithya. So apply that to Krishna. Krishna has form, but there's no form. All there is Brahman. So it's just a covering of Maya, that therefore Mayavadi, the doctrine of Maya. Krishna is Brahman. For that matter, you're Brahman, I'm Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. We're all Brahman. It's all one. All there is oneness, the oneness of Brahman. And anything that appears to be variety or diversity or qualities or features or anything is Maya. Maya covers Brahman. That's a Mayavadi. Clear? Clear. A Brahmavadi, those are Gyanis, that they have the realization of the Brahman effulgence. They have realization of Krishna as Brahman, but they can't play with him. But they don't describe the form of Krishna as false or Maya. Their emphasis is on that feature of the absolute truth which they have an attraction for and which they want to become absorbed in. So they're not offenders, as the Mayavadis are offenders. Brahma Sukha Anubhutya. Anubhuti means, carries the force or the indication of a self-manifesting substance. Anubhuti. Sukha Anubhuti. Brahma Sukha Anubhuti. So there's a happiness carried within this realization of Brahman that they experience. There is a positive happiness of Brahman realization called Brahma Sukha or Brahma Sukha Anubhuti, self-manifesting substance. This conscious entity, namely the self-manifesting substance, or Brahman, is happiness. It gives happiness since, in its highest form or of Atma or Krishna, is the basis of the highest unconditional prema. Got it? It's partial. It's not complete. That's partial. So there is a happiness. There is a spiritual happiness, a Brahma Sukha, a spiritual happiness that some may experience by identifying themselves as of the Brahma Sukha nature. And there's a happiness, no longer misidentifying with matter, but identifying the self with Brahman. And there's a happiness, partial happiness, an incomplete happiness, a Brahma Sukha happiness. Here this is Jiva Goswami. It is called Brahman, the greatest, since it is the highest Sarup for all the Brahmavadi Gyanis, by appearing only in that form for them. That's a partial realization of the absolute truth, the Brahman feature of the fullness or Satchitananda, the Sat feature of the Satchitananda, or the Brahman, as opposed to the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan feature of the fullness. So they have some happiness, Brahmasukh. That's what that verse is saying, the first line in the verse. He was easily realized, or Brahma Sukhanu Bhrutya, as Atma Tattva, or Brahman, by the liberated, who exist in a state of mere existence, Satam. They consider that this is the highest goal. For the devotees, who are also identified as by the word Satam, he is Bhagavan, the form of happiness or prema bhakti most worthy of worship. So that we're going through these color-coded verses, or parts of the verse, and then we'll take the pieces and put them back together again. Satam prasanam. So, dasyam gatanam. Dasyam gatanam refers to all the genuine devotees, other than the inhabitants of Vraja, who see Krishna as their worshipable Lord. He is their gati, or their goal, or their destination, in the mode of appreciating his majesty. Dasya bhaktas worship Krishna in reverence, but they're not qualified to play with Krishna. For devotees with Dasya Bhakti, he appears the most worshipable deity, full of all powers, so the Aishvarya feature. And then, Maya Shatanam, the indication is those involved in material happiness, Maya, Ashrita, they've taken shelter of Maya, they see him as an ordinary human, Naradarakena. The karmis have no realization of Krishna, nor worship, since they have no respect for him. So what to speak of playing with him? Those who are covered by Maya, this is the third line, those who are covered by Maya think of Krishna as a human child, since they have no jnana or bhakti. The boys did not play with Krishna in that form. The boys played with Krishna, who gave them his association because he was controlled by their prema. So, Maya Shatanam Naradarakena. So here's a painting showing the gopis worshipping Katyayani underneath that tree over there. Taken in another sense, Maya Shatanam refers to Krishna's beloved gopis, who worshipped the goddess Maya, or Katyayani, with choice mantras. But they didn't worship the material Maya, they worshiped the spiritual personality, Katyayani, the internal potency of Krishna. For the gopis who served Katyayani with great faith to attain Krishna, he appeared as a beautiful human child, Naradarakena. He appeared in this way to them because of their great prema. He appeared as happiness for the groups of women, Naradarakena. And then the final line, Krita Punya Punja. You recognize the painting. This is Krishna stealing butter or dairy products. And in many cases, for a variety of reasons, the cowherd people would hang the pots that had yogurt or dairy products up from the ceiling so ants and other little crawling creatures couldn't get to them so easily. So the cowherd boys, that was no problem. They piled one another and took what they wanted. And there's a little boy on the left on the lookout to see if anybody's Going to catch them in the act. The Brijbasis played with him. Though he is complete in bliss, they gave him more intense bliss in the pastimes of prema, and they also attained remarkable bliss in all ways. Therefore, more than all others, they were fortunate. Krita punya. Here, punya can only mean activities pleasing to the Lord and not material piety. Conventionally, punya makes reference to material punya, charity, opening hospitals, feeding the poor, and those kinds of things, healing the sick, punya, material piety. But it does not and cannot mean material piety. The cowherd boys didn't attain the position of cowherd boys by material piety. Now, let's refer back to a question that came up in the morning session. The morning session, there was, could you describe a little bit more about the transcendental nature of Krishna's associates, particularly the cowherd boys and the gopis? So we launched down this little path of the eternal associates are eternal associates. One doesn't become an eternal associate. The eternal associates are eternal associates. But one can become assistants to, or in the mood of, or like manjaris to the gopis. One may take that position, assisting them. So they don't attain, so krita punya punja. Are these cowherd boys, did they, like, once upon a time, they were like us, and they did lots and lots and lots and lots of favorable to Krishna activities, and then they attained eternal associate status? Not exactly. We or they may become assistants to the eternal associates. That's the teaching. Here's a nice reference that comes in this commentary section. This is a verse, often quoted verse. Of course, there's the Sanskrit to it, but Krishna is entering into the wrestling arena of Kamsa. And different persons see him before they confront Chanur and Mushtika. They see him, and they see him in different ways. He's one entity, but they see him in different ways. Depending upon their regard for him, they see him and they experience him in different ways. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt. The men of Mathura as the best of males. The women as Cupid in person. The cowherd men as their relative. The impious rulers as a chastiser. His parents, of course, they're in prison, they didn't see him, as their child. The king of the Bhojas, Kamsa, as death. The unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form. The yogis as the absolute truth. And the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable deity. So it's one Krishna and one Balaram, but they're different ways of seeing him. Not Krishna's doing different things, it's Krishna's just coming into the wrestling arena. But there's different experiences of him according to their regard for him. It's, we understand the principle, yayatam mam prapadyante, etc. So according to how persons regard Krishna, that's how he appears to them. Although he has the same walk, the same stride, the same the same attire, the same everything, but perceived differently. And these cowherd boys, because of the heaps and heaps of punya, or transcendental exchange with Krishna from many, many, many lifetimes, they're able to play with him. Here's Prabhupada, morning walk in Bombay. These boys, these cowherd boys, they have accumulated krita punya punja, heaps of pious activities, and therefore they are now allowed to play with Krishna. Krita punya punja. Again, he was taste that phrase, repeat the phrase, taste it, and within that seed was the whole verse. The great fortune of these cowherd boys. Again, this is a morning walk in Bombay, different date. After many lives, pious activities, they have come to this position. Krita punya punja. To understand Krishna and to engage in the service of the Lord, it requires a qualification. Yesham tuntagatam papam jananam punya karmanam janmanam punya. Those who are simply, this is the highest punya karma, to engage one's life activities only for the service of Krishna. That is the greatest punya karma. And again, another situation. This is in Vrindavan. Prabhupada is speaking. This is a class in Nectar Devotion. Therefore, we forbid our students no illicit sex, no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, because these are the pillars of sinful life we have given up. We have to give up these things to accelerate our promotion to devotional service. We cannot go on doing this and that at the same time. It is something like that. You ignite fire and pour water. It will be useless attempt. If you want to burn the fire blazing, don't put water on it. Keep it dry. Desham tuntagatam papam. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse. They had accepted heaps of piety. This is a mundane statement. Actually, they had piles of pure splendor, punya, caused by the highest mercy of the Lord, who performs pastimes, krita. Amara Kosh says, punya means splendor, or charu. Amara Kosh, that's a Sanskrit dictionary. Their preeti as friends, with no restriction of reverence, expands at every moment because of its lack of restriction and its special nature with fullness. Krishna's heart responds to that, and accordingly, his friends realize the exceptional sweetness of his form qualities and astonishing pastimes. What more can be said? This is Jiva Goswami continuing. Like churning the ocean to get nectar, such intimate love produces the highest sweetness and control of Krishna because of their sweet love. This is not seen in the Jnani or the devotee with reverence. So we went through each of the phrases of the 4 lines. Here Jiva Goswami is not going through the Sanskrit, but summarizing in his commentary. Punya refers to bhakti as in dharmo mad bhakti krita proktaha, or from the Uddhava Gita. Dharma is performing bhakti to me. The boys must have performed lots of hearing, etc. as sadhana. It could also mean They did piles of meditation on the Lord in Satya Yuga. They had accomplished, or krita, piles of anurag, or punya. Sanatana Goswami's commentary. So Krishna is at the center, naturally so. The cowherd boys, with different relationships with Krishna, they're fascinated not just by his flute playing, but by him and whatever he does. And they have that affinity because of, who can say how much pious activities or how much devotional service, piles of meditation in Satya Yuga, and so forth. The gopis, this is Sanatana Goswami, the gopis' rati was not fulfilled during the day because of separation, and even at night was not fulfilled with comfort compared to these boys easily associating with Krishna all day long. So they're in the spotlight. They're getting a lot of appreciation and attention. And after all, they're with Krishna all day long, or at least the daytime hours, from early morning till the nightfall. They're with Krishna every day, or at least for a number of years. So they're most fortunate, playing with Krishna every day. Here's a verse from Canto 6, Bhagavatam. Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadev Goswami. Oh, great sage! Greater are Jivan Mukta, and greater than those who attain liberation is the devotee of Narayana. Such a devotee who is in Shanta or other rasas is very rare, even among 10 million people. And Jiva Goswami makes reference to this in Priti Sandarbha, more rare than the most rare of the cowherd boys. More rare than the most rare of the cowherd boys. Because of their priti, their loving and affection. Among types of friends, this type of friendship does not exist. They are greater than all others. Just see. Swinging on swings and everything all day long. Therefore, the good fortune of these friends who play directly with Krishna is because of special friendship with intimacy. Pranaya. Again, this is Jiva Goswami's Priti Sandarbha. So it's not only the gopis have this special priti, they have, but the cowherd boys have also. Mother Jasoda and Nanda Maharaj, the Vatsalya Rasa has its priti, or love, but the cowherd boys have abundance of intimacy in friendship with Krishna. Now this verse, it's 10, 12, 11. We're still in chapter 12. And this verse that we've been referring to again and again, it's many places in Priti Sandarbha because it's describing the unique, super unique position of the cowherd boys. And it's really explicit. More than topmost, more than of all living entities. Cowherd boys have such priti, such intimacy of love. And not only in Priti Sandarbha, it's often quoted, or several places it's quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Tasmat tenapi upayena mana Krishne niveshayet. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu makes reference. Somehow or other, whether one thinks of Krishna as an ordinary human child, the source of Brahman effulgence, as the original Paramama or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should concentrate one's full attention upon the lotus feet of Krishna. Now that's the principle of bhakti, taught, of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam and in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Then there's this very special affection of the residents of Vrindavan, and amongst the residents of Vrindavan, very special affection of the cowherd boys. You know the verse, Ishvara Sadyo Hridya Avrujyate Trakritibi Shushrushavi Takshanat. Diverting even a little of one's attention toward Krishna and activities in Krishna consciousness immediately enables one to achieve the highest perfection of life. Now, Prabhupada is making reference to this verse, Canto 10, Chapter 12, Text 11, in his 112 Bhagavatam purport. What is being described in our section of discussion today in Chapter 12 is a fundamental teaching in bhakti. Here's another reference, Canto 1, Chapter 7. Lokasya Janato Vidvang Chakre Sattvata Samhita. The secret of success is unknown to people in general. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva has given us the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's Prabhupada's purport to 1:12:11. Again, if one adheres to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, one is sure to obtain association of Krishna in the next life. Prabhu's. It's not a bluff. It's not hype. It's not hyperbole. It's not over-exaggeration. It's very simple. Obtaining the relationship with Krishna or association with Krishna in the next life. Now, it doesn't say where, but association with Krishna in the next life. So there's a little advertisement again for Bhadra Purnima. Receive Srimad Bhagavatam and give Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada comments, distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world is a great welfare activity for theologians, philosophers, transcendentalists, and yogis. Everyone's an eligible candidate. We're just going to cover one more verse and then close up for discussion. So here is a color-coded verse again. Pada pa. Pada means feet. Pada pa. So that's plants or trees that drink through their feet. Yogis may undergo severe austerities and penances for many births, yet in due course of time, when these yogis attain the perfection of controlling the mind, they will still be unable to taste even a particle of dust from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then can we describe about the great fortune of the inhabitants of Brajabhumi Vrindavan, with whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally lived, and who saw the Lord face to face? Now it's a mistake to take it as like it's just a nice story. It's a nice story. But it's a mistake to take it as just a nice story. It's a description of Krishna's appearance and his exchange with his eternal associates. And we're getting the privilege, when we come to chapter 13 and 14 of Canto 10, Brahma is in his prayers, for example, he's saying how greatly fortunate are these cowherd boys, because they're playing with Krishna. And those who are, aside from the cowherd boys, those that are aware and are associating with Krishna in some part of the day, in some way. And then very special are even those of us who are presiding deities of the senses. And we, through the presiding deity of the senses, perceive through the senses the pastimes of Krishna. How greatly fortunate. And what did we do to get the same opportunity? Just directly with our oral reception thing on the side of our head, hearing that these pastimes. And if heard properly, one is invited into those pastimes, the mood of those pastimes. What good fortune! Who can say? And what piety can we say? We come with heaps and heaps and heaps of piety. Sorry, that wasn't our qualification. Maybe some individuals, many lifetimes prior to this lifetime, and diligently being engaged in devotional service. There may be some individuals, but in many, there's no material qualification, no prerequisite. It's just by hearing it creates the good fortune. It's a fact. Prabhupada would, many times, in India and even in America, point to his disciples and say, previously they were engaged in abominable activity, no prior qualification at all. And now they're not doing any of those things, and they're exhibiting ideal life. Of course, that was a nice statement, and some persons did and some persons didn't. But ideal life. The bright, he liked it when the media would comment, the bright-faced Krishna devotees. He often, in different times, quote a Catholic priest that came to meet him when he was in Boston one time and asked, Swami, how do you do this? Because the people that are your followers, they used to be part of our religion, but they didn't come. And now look at them. They're shiny and effulgent and following everything so nicely. What magic? And he would just refer to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and, of course, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's transforming, regardless of what one's background is. Look around the room. There's lots of non-resident Indians. Maybe some generational people that are born in America, so American citizens by birth. And, Trump seems to want to change all that too. But so there's some background for all of you, some piety background for all of you or most of you, just from your birth. And then that a large part of the Hare Krishna movement was not based upon that. It's not how it got started. It was just that very simple activities, same as what we're doing. So what to speak of the exceptional fortune of these cowherd boys, and then hearing about it, that's exceptional fortune just to hear about it. Not even considering the great fortune of their constant playing with the Lord, great souls cannot even attain the fortune of seeing Krishna, which all the people of Vraja could see. Yogis cannot even see a grain of dust from his feet. This means that they cannot establish any sort of relationship with him. They cannot see from afar. Even a ray of the devotees who drink the Lord's feet. Pada plus pa. Pada pa. With prema. So that's the end of our part 2. And the beginning of part 3 is going to be Aghasura shows up in this mood of in the forest of Braja, being with Krishna and enjoying their very joyful pastimes in a very playful mood, doing this and doing that and touching Krishna and laughing and stealing each other's lunches and climbing trees and, doing things that little boys do. Here comes the big demon. The mood changes. Starting tomorrow. If somebody wants, I'll know how to do this right properly. If somebody that's here today wants to volunteer, you don't have to raise your hand, but if I can call on you tomorrow, anybody that wants to memorize that Krita Punya Punja verse, I'll call on some people that want to recite it. That's going to be tomorrow evening, right? So if there's anybody here that wants to learn the verse, or a few somebody's, okay. And recite it, but even sing it. It's very, very sweet and melodious. So we have one volunteer already. Somebody else, I don't have to have you raise your hand, but I'll ask for volunteers, and then we'll go through the meaning of the verse again. It's an exclamation of how fortunate are the cowherd boys. Who can say how fortunate are these cowherd boys? Okay. So let's turn on the light. And comments or questions? Yes. Do we have a microphone? Yeah. There's somebody up here.
Thanks, Maharaj. Haribol.
Haribol.
There we go. We've been talking about punya. Generally, we think of punya as like material.
Yes, material piety.
Yeah, but it's been established that that's not what we're talking about.
Correct.
However, in the different ways, the acharyas that you were quoting, it seems to be like a mix of some kind of pious credit that the cowherd boys got, yet their eternal residence.
Well, let's do this. Along with the eternal residence, there are those that are joining Krishna's association.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. That's it. That's it? Okay. Others? You have something?
Some paintings are so the paintings.
The paintings are beautiful,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, is there somebody you know?
Yeah, somebody I know. You want to know that somebody?
Yeah.
I'll tell you separately. Now, this particular presentation, somebody 90% did, or maybe more than 90%. They have some friends, and their friends help them, but they gather, and some of them, largely, I do myself. Because I like artwork. picture speaks 1,000 words, and so many other things.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Early on in the slides, there is a comment made by Sri Jiva Goswami that the boys displayed pride, saying that I will touch him first.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, expand a little bit about the pride?
There's everything that exists is in the spiritual world, and the perverted reflection of what's in the spiritual world is here in the material world. So the cowherd boys don't have the perverted reflection kind. So it's a transcendental kind. And what does it look like? I will touch you first. Their happiness is Krishna's happiness. And that they can bring Krishna's happiness and they can experience the happiness of Krishna's happiness. That makes them happy. That kind of pridefulness. It's otherworldly. It's not worldly. There's worldly and there's otherworldly, and anything and everything.
Not motivated by false ego.
Yeah.
Motivated by praying. Giving Krishna.
Stay tuned. The Prema channel. But in principle, we should know that there's one source of everything, and then there's this place, which is a reflection of that one source. Somebody else. All the way in the back. All the way. Oh.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. In the Krita Punya Punja verse, my understanding from this class is that it refers to both.
It refers to
both Nitya Siddhas, or eternally perfect devotees, and Sadhana Siddhas, the perfected devotees. Right?
That was his question.
Yes, Maharaj. So, yeah, one of the explanations was that, the Krita, they did meditation during Satya Yuga and something like that. We saw one of the slides, right? So,
yes.
So my question is that, okay, the punya part, we understand that it's not really piety, but it is pleasing Krishna through devotional service. So for perfected devotees, that is clear, like by performing sadhana bhakti.
It's for both Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha.
Yes.
It applies to both.
Yes, Maharaj. So it is less clear for me how it is applicable to Nitya Siddhas. Because
have Nitya Siddhas not done heaps and piles?
Yeah, but there is a past of having done pleasing activities.
That's okay. One is a path and the other is they're already there. One is sadhana, the other's siddha. Nitya Siddha. The Nitya Siddhas do, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, piles and piles and piles, heaps and piles. Krita Punya Punja. Don't put it. Here's the problem. You're running into a problem. You're putting that which doesn't fall within the jurisdiction of time within the jurisdiction of time.
That's right.
And that's the problem. That it doesn't fit. But there is such a thing as eternally perfect, and in heaps and piles of pleasing Krishna in prema is their life. How greatly fortunate, contrasted to the other three categories.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I saw one slide about pranaya, the intimacy of the cowherd boys with Krishna. Is there any reference or insights? Cowherd boys also felt that feeling of separation when
Is
Krishna,
any reference to do what? It got crickling. The
when
sound.
Krishna left to Madhura. Is there any similar feelings of separation? No.
What's he saying? Do you understand what he's saying?
No, I can repeat my question.
Rephrase it.
Yeah, sure.
Let us talk slow. Keep it like
And usually when we talk about the feelings of separation, we refer to
The feelings of which?
feelings of separation.
Feelings of separation. Now, don't you have to shout? I can hear.
Okay.
With just like with some distance and speak slowly and clearly. That's the way. Okay. There's feelings of separation not only from the gopis.
Yeah. Is there any reference or insights where it talks about similar intimacy or that feeling of separation for cowherd boys?
Of course. How many do you want? Here's one. Sometimes they're walking with Krishna, and Krishna, they're on one side of a tree, Krishna's on the other side of the tree, and for a moment they can't see Krishna because he's on the other side of the tree. Oh, there he is again. Because that moment, it means 10 so many years or more. Or here's another one. When the cowherd boys enter the mouth of Aghasura, they can't see Krishna. And Krishna cannot, well, of course, he can see anything anywhere, but he can't see them. And he knows what their feeling is. We can't, he's our life and soul. We can't see him. So the feelings of separation are there for them. Or when he, etc. There's many examples. So you want to know, are there examples? There's abundant examples. Because there's abundant examples because there's variety of rasa. And one type of secondary rasa, along with the primary rasa of friendship, and friendship mixed with servitorship in some cases, there's the sense of being separated from the object of love. So it exists in all the four primary rasas: servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. Naturally, it's a secondary rasa, and Krishna ensures that people will feel it. And he feels it. He feels separation from them. It's two ways, not one way.
Good Maharaj. My question is when Krishna left to Madhura.
Oh, you want to know reference of what the cowherd boys went through? You can. I don't know scriptural references what the cowherd boys went through. We hear about what the gopis went through.
Maharaj.
And similarly, the cowherd boys went mad. Just like the gopis went mad.
Okay, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, I just want to add to what he had asked.
About what?
I just want to add a little bit, if you can kindly permit me, Guru Maharaj.
You got the microphone. Go for it.
Thank you so much. I think he's asking the question like, where can I get these references from? But recently I have been reading Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In the Preeti section, in the Sakhya Rasa section, it is clearly mentioned the separation, the different kinds of separation of cowherd boys when Krishna left Madhura. So many categories are there, subcategories are there. So I just want to mention that so that Prabhu can read from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Thank you so much, Guru
So
Maharaj.
why don't you give him the reference so he can look it up himself?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much for opportunity.
I see you.
Hey Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. I had a question on it said that the spiritual world was there forever. There was no starting, there's no ending. So were the cowherd boys also there?
Yeah. Why not? You think not? We discussed in the morning session, sometimes manifest, sometimes not manifest. Remember that discussion? Prakat, aprakat. So eternally they exist, and sometimes in the manifest and sometimes not manifest state. But they eternally exist. Does that answer your question? Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Sorry if my question is an ignorant question, but I just want to know how the eternal associates got that position initially.
Okay. This is the same placing something that's not within time as if it's an event within time. I'll say it again. Same thing. Once upon a time, there was cowherd boy X, and he wasn't in the spiritual world. But he somehow became an eternal associate. So how did he become an eternal associate? As if it's an event in time. It's not an event in time. They're eternal associates. Let me ask you, when did Mother Jasoda become Mother Jasoda?
Yes, Maharaj. I have the
You got the idea.
Same question.
They're eternal. And sometimes manifesting, particularly the youthfulness of Krishna's Bhoma Lila, his earthly pastimes. And then they're manifest, and they have mothers and fathers, and et cetera, et cetera. And they grow in age as Krishna grows in age, and they have pastimes with him. And they're really enjoying it because they're with Krishna. With pride. He's absorbed. With pride. Let me touch Krishna first. Let me touch Krishna first. Prema. Eternally. No beginning and no ending. Eternal. It's not within our experience. So we can think of things that are within our experience that have beginning and an end. And there's things that don't have a beginning or an end. And this is one of them.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. I was hoping you would raise your hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when you were explaining about transcendental pride, I had a thought in my mind that devotees are eager to give pleasure to Krishna, but we're also very enthusiastic to receive from Krishna. So in a practical instance, for example, in a temple, we are like, let's say if the pujari is trying to give like a flower or a fruit, and we are like, it should come to me. Is that a subtle greed, or is that greed?
It's a mix.
It's a mix.
Our consciousness is mixed. Our consciousness is directed towards Krishna, but it's rooted in false ego, just because we're not pure, but attracted to Krishna. So it's a mixed devotion. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.